So what should Apple learn from the launch of the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro? There's actually a couple of things I can think of, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of things that came out of this launch of this phone that surprised and shocked a lot of us. I mean, I'm gonna be real honest with you here. Didn't expect some of the things to happen that did. But we'll talk about it. I mean, what the impact is for this year, and more importantly, what the impact is for next year, right after this.
This is, you know you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name is Travis and I do tech videos every single week and have a blast doing them. If that sounds like fun to you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Anything I talk about will be in the description below. But for now, let's just get into the video. Shout out to everyone who joined me for my last video, Toxic Tech. If you have not seen that, about how the tech community is basically ripping itself apart, I spent a lot of time on that video. It would be really appreciative if you check it out. I'll put it in the description below and in the end card. It's really interesting. But let's talk a little bit about the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro and what we've learned since the launch. Well, let's say one thing, the leaks were plentiful before the phone came out. We seemed to kind of know everything about it before it came out, which is becoming the norm nowadays here in smartphones. By the way, I'm not really a fan of that. I mean, it's kind of cool to know some of the things, but we know so much about these phones that typically by the time the launch comes out, we're kind of underwhelmed. And the only thing that typically surprises us, and thankfully it does, is the software. Because I think what happens is the software is actually done at the headquarters or somewhere that's under NDA more so than the Chinese manufacturers, which as soon as you put it over there, it's everywhere. So if you haven't heard, the iPhone 11 sales are actually doing better than expected. As a matter of fact, there's a rumor that Apple is actually asking for 10% more production out of their suppliers to make more iPhones. If you have not already heard, the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro have longer wait times now than they did last year for the XS and the XR. That's kind of interesting since for the most part, sales of smartphones have been going down. There was one kind of caveat to that and I talked about that in a previous video. And that was there's a lot of people that are still on the 6S and 7 phones that could be upgrading. The year that the iPhone 6S came out was the biggest and best year for Apple. They sold the most amount of phones that year. So the people that are still holding onto those phones, and judging by my comment, there's still a lot, are getting the last year of software upgrades this year. And some of them might actually upgrade this year. And if they don't this year, they're probably going to next year. So Apple did the smart thing and priced the iPhone 11 accordingly. So number one, pricing is a thing. They kind of learned that with the XR. They doubled down on it this year and it looks like it's paying off big. The price that I said last year that the XR should have been, $699, it is what it is this year, and apparently that seems to be a really good price tag. Plus with specials and trade-ins, I mean, you actually can get it for really, really good prices right now. And if you wait until like Black Friday, you might even be able to get a buy one, get one through your carrier. The other thing they may have learned is that putting all that research into the cameras has really started to pay off. The reviews about this phone, talking about the camera, has just been like overwhelming. It really is an overwhelming thing. If you're on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, undoubtedly you continue to see more picture examples and video examples from the iPhone. So much so that people are forgetting that the Note 10 that just was released a little while ago has a really excellent camera. Like it's really good. Like there's all types of cool things you can do with it, but no one's talking about it anymore. Seems like the only thing people are talking about are the iPhone camera or what the Pixel 4 is going to do camera-wise. The Note isn't even like in the conversation for some reason. And I love my Note 10, so I'm a little bit perplexed by this. But look, at the end of the day, that matters. So I think Apple will continue to invest heavily in its camera technology. I mean, really, it kind of has to at this point. People that use iPhones tend to be creative, at least the people in the influencer market, you might see a lot of them with iPhones. So, you know, kind of hedging your bets against that seems to be working out, and this year especially it's worked out in their favor. One other thing that Apple learned this year, at least I hope they did, is they cannot rush the operating system. Whenever Apple releases a new iPhone, they release the new operating system on it. Just makes sense. This year they kind of messed up. The iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro launched with iOS 13 and then immediately got iOS 13.1 and then 13.1.2 or something like that. Like right away, like within days of each other. This is very un-Apple-like. Obviously, iOS 13 was rushed, and then iOS 13.1 was rushed, which is crazy. If you're going to rush one out, take your time on the next. But bugs galore in iOS 13, a lot of people having problems with apps crashing and other weirdness. Finally squashed all the way up to 13.2. I think most people are doing fine on the latest software revision, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, Apple, settle down. Just settle down. My guess is this is run by two completely different teams in Apple that don't talk to each other. I've worked in really large corporations before, and a lot of times the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. So while the hardware team is done and they're congratulating each other and patting each other on the back, the software team's running around like the house is on fire. Like it's really on fire. And while iOS 13 adds a lot of cool features, if they're broken, then who cares? Also, with Deep Fusion being a really cool thing with the camera and it not being ready for release, that's another thing that's just kind of a pain in the butt. They've done this in the past couple of years as well, where a really cool camera feature doesn't launch until after the fact. Remember, like the portrait mode and everything didn't launch right away. So if Apple walks away with 2019 knowing that A, people will still buy iPhones, especially at a good price, and B, they can get their software together, they're actually poised to do very well in 2020. But one thing that actually concerns me is iPhone 11 Pros are doing well. And I hope that they haven't learned that they can continue to put 64 gigs in phones. And I get it, I understand, people have heard enough about that. But you have to understand this very simple thing. If you continue to pay for less, you will continue to get less until they are forced to give you more. It's really just that simple. So I really hope Apple at least extends to 128 gigs next year. I mean, preferably 256, but I don't think that's gonna happen. And in addition, really take the time in software this time. We don't want to be the beta test people. I mean, beta test was supposed to happen before the phone came out. Way before. Remember that? When everyone was signed up for the beta test? Way before that. Way before. And if it turns out you got to drop the hardware back a week or so, please do that. We don't want your crappy software. We want the good one. Finally, I think the last thing that Apple has learned, we've all learned, is no matter how much fun we make of how the iPhone looked in advance, people are buying it and people are loving it and people are over it. That was the one thing that everyone talked about, the camera array on the back and how ugly and crazy it looked. And you don't really hear anyone saying anything about it anymore. So Apple can continue to do whatever the heck they want to as far as the design. People are going to get over it. People got over the notch. People get over the bug eyes. What's next? A hump is my guess. It's a big hump on the back. I mean, I don't know, why not? But what do you think? What should Apple take away from 2019, the iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro launch? What should they understand about how this product launched, and was it successful as it seems to be, or were there some things they can tweak? Leave me a comment below and let me know what you think Apple should do for 2020. And my guess is there's a bunch of people going to troll that answer. I can see it now. Can totally see it now. If this video helped you out in any way, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And if it didn't, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I'm here every single week having a blast. Hope to see you again real soon. Peace and love, peace and love.